So you say you like serial killers? You say you like films about serial killers? Well, lucky for you, coming now from Cleopatra Entertainment on Blu-ray is 2023's The Black Mass. Not to be confused with that Johnny Depp organized crime Whitey Bulger movie. This is The Black Mass. That is simply a black mass. This is The Black Mass. This is director Devanny Pinn's look at Ted Bundy's reign of terror in a small Florida, or perhaps not so small, in a Florida college town in 1978, I believe this takes place. Based on actual events where I believe it's what led to his capture. Ted Bundy sort of stalked some females that were involved with a sorority house at a college in Florida, and then one night went in there and did very horrible things. And this is sort of the lead up to that event and that event in cinematic narrative form. So I heard this was coming, I was like, really another Ted Bundy movie? Because there's been like this little mini explosion of Ted Bundy films and documentaries and stuff in the last few years. There's one or two documentaries on streaming services. There was the film that starred Zac Efron as Ted Bundy. There was the original TV movie that most of us first heard about Ted Bundy. It was Mark Harmon in The Deliberate Stranger. I think that was like a two-part TV movie, and I remember as a kid seeing the novelization on the shelves at the local newsstand. So Ted Bundy has been covered many times in film. So when this one came across my desk, shall we say, to make me sound classier than I am, I was like, really another one? But then I was reading that, well, this is really more about pays tribute to the victims, and it's more focused on the victims, and it gives them a voice, and it makes them into full characters. And I thought, this might be interesting. So I watched this the other night, and I really didn't care for it, unfortunately. It's a film that's set in an era that I like a lot and vaguely remember, and I see a lot of films of that era, so I'm always a little bit more hypersensitive to films that are set in the past when, to me, they don't feel like they're in the past. And this is one of those. It's set in, I believe, January of 78, and everything just looks too clean and too new. It looks like everybody is playing at being in the 70s. People carried themselves differently in another era. And everybody in this film, they just seem like contemporary people who are about ready to go to, like, not this bad, but they're getting ready to go to a 70s dress-up party where, like, all the clothes look perfect, like they're off the rack. Bundy's car looks perfect because it was probably rented or borrowed from a collector who keeps their car really nice. And everything just looks fake. And there's a scene where there's like a little bit of a downtown, and it's clearly a set, and they're in front of what should be a store displaying TVs that are displaying, and they use actual photos of Bundy in this. The actor who plays Bundy in this, you see like the side of his face. Occasionally you see the front of his face, but for the most part they don't focus. It's always a back of the head. It's parts of his body. You don't really see him. And then they'll use like an actual photo of Bundy's driver's license or fake ID or him on the news. And there's a moment where Bundy walks past a bank of TVs, and it's supposed to be like a TV store, but across the top the signage says audio video duplication or something like that. And I'm like, that doesn't seem like it was a thing in 1978. What was the video duplication that was? I don't know. Maybe I'm nitpicking about this, but it kind of took me out of it. I've seen a lot of films, and I know this was a film made with meager means. And hats off to anybody who can get a film made, completed, and released. I always have respect for that. But I feel like I've seen other films that were low budget that really sold it taking place in another period a bit better than this one did for me. As much as it talked about, or other people have talked about, how this pays tribute to the victims, I didn't feel like the victims, you see a bit of them, but all of the dialogue is so mundane and kind of lame that it doesn't really sell them as people, other than, well, these are college girls and they live a life. But I thought this was really going to focus on the people, so that you got to know the people, and then when this monster comes into their lives, you really, really feel for it. And it just really didn't for me. I didn't connect to any of the characters. The Bundy seemed kind of cheesy. The acting for the girls, ladies, females, college students was fine. There are some recognizable faces in this. You've got Kathleen Kinmont, plays a bartender in it. Jeremy London's briefly in it as like a convenience store owner. Lou Temple is in it as a police officer. Lisa Wilcox, Eileen Dietz is in it. If you may know, she was the face of the Captain Howdy, that really horrible demonic face that you see flashes of in The Exorcist, and moreover The Exorcist trailer. That was Eileen Dietz. She's in it briefly, but it's just like, it's I don't know. I really couldn't get into this. It's really not very long. This movie is, how long is this? This is 80 minutes, but really the movie kind of ends not much longer than an hour, and then you get this extended sequence of, and then the text on screen and some recreations and some clips of Bundy, some news footage saying, well, after this attack, this is what happened to him, and blah, blah, blah. And it just felt like trying to stretch it out to feature length, and then really slow credits to get over the 80-minute mark. But really the film is kind of done at about an hour. And under that end credit sequence, there's some decent music in this. Not period music, but recreating the period music. Under the end credits, where you should be feeling super grim, it's like this strangely like upbeat music, and this shot of Bundy in the Volkswagen like driving through a pastoral field or something like that, but it's like very clearly like green screen and fake. I don't know. This was really not for me. So what do you get with this? You get the film itself is presented in 5.1 or 2.0 stereo English. There's no subtitles for it. It has, as far as extras go, it has a slideshow that's about a minute and a half, and it's a mix of some behind the scenes shots, which are interesting to see how they crafted the film and how they faked things to look like things they really aren't, mixed with frame grabs. They might have been stills taken on set, but to me they look like they were just stills taken from the movie, which always kind of feels like a cheat to me. That's about a minute and a half, and then you get about a minute long trailer that really kind of ups the ante, or ups the trying to make it feel like this nasty serial killer movie. And then there are Cleopatra entertainment trailers for Frost, The Ghosts of Monday, The Long Dark Trail, What the Waters Left Behind, Scars, which I reviewed elsewhere, and Lion Girl, which I will eventually get around to reviewing. And at the end, there's this message about, this movie is for the victims, not for Bundy. He's nothing. To the victims, we see you, not him, and all that. And it didn't feel like it, for me, did enough to make me care about the victims. The scenes of the attack are incredibly brutal and horrifying, and they're not really overtly explicit. There's some blood and there's some pummeling with a log and all that, and some things. But if you're looking for that, it's there. But overall, this, as much as this is being sold as very respectful and very pro-victim and all that, to me, in the end, it felt kind of exploitive, because it felt like it didn't really add anything to this story. It didn't tell me anything I didn't know about this story. It felt kind of cheesy and cheap, and ultimately, it's just another serial killer movie that people are going to watch because they want to see somebody kill somebody. So, hey, I'm not passing judgment. I watch a lot of horror movies. I'm fascinated by serial killer stuff and true crime and all that. But for me, I would have been better off, and I was better off, having watched other films that have been made about this and the documentaries that have been about this. Having said all that, this film is available on Blu-ray and DVD and soon to be streaming from Cleopatra Entertainment.